As the Trump administration continues to carry out its immigration crackdown, American farmers are facing a labor crisis.
But the shutdown also closed the agency that distributes that funding, as Trump is now teasing another kind of bailout.
A potential bumper crop of corn actually has corn growers a little bit worried this year. I'm Katrina Markle in Saunders County, where Dan Wesley, a veteran farmer, told me that his industry needs to find more markets for their product.
Imagine waking up one morning to discover that a product your country has dominated for decades is suddenly being rejected across the world. Not ignored, not overlooked, rejected. This is exactly what's happening to the United States right now. And it's sending shockwaves across Washington, across Wall Street, and across every corn-growing county in the Midwest. For the first time in years, major global buyers are turning away U.S. corn shipments, citing concerns about quality, moisture levels, price instability, and even political unpredictability. And while America is scrambling to figure out what went wrong, Canada is quietly stepping in, signing billion-dollar export deals, securing new markets across Asia and Europe, and becoming one of the most reliable corn suppliers on the planet. How did this happen? How did the world's most powerful agricultural giant get outmaneuvered by its northern neighbor? And is this the beginning of a permanent shift in global trade? Stay with me, because the answer impacts food prices, election politics, and the future of North America's economic balance. This is Red Leaf Politics, and today we're diving into the global trade earthquake nobody saw coming. To understand this global shakeup, we need to rewind just a few months. Historically, the U.S. has been the world's most dependable corn exporter, the country everyone relied on. American farmers produce more than 350 million metric tons of corn annually, making the U.S. the backbone of global feed, food, and fuel markets. But something changed. According to the uploaded document, multiple countries recently questioned U.S. corn shipments, pointing to higher than allowed moisture levels, quality inconsistencies, pricing disadvantages due to tariffs, and rising transport costs. Some buyers outright rejected shipments. Others delayed them. Some simply walked away from U.S. contracts because they found a more stable supplier, Canada. This sudden drop in demand comes at the worst possible time. Farmers are already battling skyrocketing fertilizer prices, fuel costs, logistics bottlenecks, and a labor shortage amplified by political decisions in Washington. When international buyers abandon U.S. corn, it's not just a shipping problem, it's a blow to trust. And in global trade, trust takes decades to build but only moments to lose. While the U.S. deals with disputes at ports and frustrated farmers, Canada is having its best moment in years on the agricultural stage. Here's what Canada has done right. Heavy check mark 1. High and stable grain quality. Buyers consistently rate Canadian grain, including corn, as clean, well-graded, and reliable. Heavy check mark 2. Lower dispute rates at ports. Canada's West Coast ports have fewer holdups and fewer rejection disputes. Heavy check mark 3. Stronger trade relations. Canada maintains smoother diplomatic ties with major Asian and Middle Eastern buyers, regions now seeking long-term stability rather than political drama. Heavy check mark 4. Transparent pricing. Where U.S. markets fluctuate with political decisions and tariff wars, Canadian pricing tends to be more predictable. Heavy check mark 5. Major long-term export contracts. The uploaded document confirms Canada has secured multi-billion-dollar corn export deals across Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. Buyers said the same thing repeatedly. Canada is less trouble and more reliable. In a world shaken by global uncertainty, reliability is everything. For decades, the world relied heavily on the United States for its food supply, but that era is fading fast. Countries today don't want just one supplier, they want options. They want backup plans. They want political stability and transparent pricing. And that explains why the corn rejections are part of a much bigger trend. Globe showing Europe, Africa. Global buyers are diversifying. They no longer want to be trapped by American politics, American tariffs, or sudden trade wars that disrupt supply. Globe showing Europe, Africa. Climate and logistics matter. Shipping routes through Canada, especially the Pacific, have become more reliable and less congested. Globe showing Europe, Africa. Quality control is non-negotiable. When a country rejects a U.S. corn shipment over moisture levels or inconsistent grades, it's not just paperwork, it's a warning sign. Globe showing Europe, Africa. Trust is the new currency. Once trust erodes, rebuilding it takes years, sometimes decades. Meanwhile, Canada has quietly positioned itself as a clean, stable, politically neutral supplier that delivers exactly what buyers pay for. This isn't just a corn story, it's a complete transformation of global agriculture. You know who feels this crisis before anyone else? Not politicians, not CEOs, not trade negotiators, farmers. And according to the uploaded file, U.S. farmers are already hurting from rising fertilizer costs, skyrocketing fuel expenses, shipping costs, and workforce shortages due to ongoing political decisions. Now add rejected exports to that list, and the situation becomes critical. When global demand drops, farmers may reduce production next season. Lower supply means higher domestic prices. Livestock feed costs could climb. Consumers may feel the impact in grocery stores. This isn't hypothetical. This is economics 101, and it could spark political tensions, especially in election cycles where rural voters matter. Agriculture has always been a pressure point in American politics. A weak export season isn't just an economic failure, it becomes a political weapon. That's why, as the document notes, Washington is tense, because rejected corn shipments don't just hurt profits, they hurt campaigns. For Canada, this moment represents something far bigger than a good export year. It's a strategic breakthrough. Canada is strengthening long-term agricultural partnerships at a time when global buyers are desperate for stability. According to the document, Canada's corn exports are expanding precisely because buyers trust the country's consistency in grain quality, contract reliability, trade transparency, and port efficiency, and long-term contracts mean long-term influence. If Canada continues delivering on these expectations, it could reshape its global agricultural reputation, moving from a supplemental supplier to a primary source for key markets. That means stronger leverage in international trade discussions, new opportunities for farmers in Ontario, Quebec, and the prairies, a more diversified economic foundation, and increased diplomatic influence in regions that depend on Canadian grain for decades. Canada has been overshadowed by its massive southern neighbor in the grain world. But now the world is taking a fresh look and they're liking what they see. This isn't luck. It's preparation meeting opportunity. So where does North America go from here? The uploaded document lays out the 3 questions that will define the next decade of agricultural power. 1. Can the U.S. fix its quality, tariff, and shipping issues fast enough? America can recover, but only if it modernizes its logistics, stabilizes its trade policies, and rebuilds global trust. 2. Will buyers continue shifting toward Canada? If Canada keeps offering better reliability and fewer disputes, the trend could become long-term, not temporary. 3. Is this the start of a permanent power shift? Agricultural dominance doesn't change often. But when it does, the consequences last for generations. Here's the truth. Global buyers don't care about slogans, they don't care about politics, they care about results. Canada is delivering results. America is struggling to keep up. And in the geoeconomic chessboard, the country that feeds the world influences the world. This corn shift might be the first sign of a much larger realignment. What looks like a simple trade dispute is actually a signal that global markets are shifting away from old dependencies and toward new partnerships. The U.S. corn rejections are not isolated incidents. They're symptoms of weakening trust, rising costs, and political instability. Meanwhile, Canada is proving that reliability, diplomacy, and consistency can reshape global influence, even in industries long dominated by superpowers. This story matters because it affects international food security, North American economics, global trade stability, rural political dynamics, and your grocery bill. When supply chains shift, everything shifts. And in this moment, Canada isn't just exporting corn, it's exporting certainty. That is the new currency of global power. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, insightful, or even a little unsettling, then you're exactly the kind of viewer who belongs here at Red Leaf Politics, where we cut through the noise, follow the data, and bring you the stories shaping North America's future. So do your part to